Yeah, I saw a post on Facebook the other day. These come up a lot. It's like something like, I don't know, I'm enlightened and fuck it, I swear. I don't know.
Enlightened people do that crazy shit.
They do. Yeah. And for those of you who haven't seen the videos, they're called Shit New Age People Say. Definitely check those out. There's one with a guy sitting on the toilet and he's taking a shit. And he says, "Dear Lord, please help this blockage be removed." Patrick, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Patrick. I'm an amateur meditator. I'm doing the...
You're an amateur meditator? Mm-hmm. Well, I think we all are. Even me, since I'm not a Buddhist monk, I mean. I'm glad we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us tonight. Very good. Sometimes we've had as many as 15, and sometimes as few as just 3. I've been leading meditation classes for about 1.5 years. Started doing them just out of my house, and always kind of drew a crowd, especially when I was doing them once a month. Then people would always get a big crowd. So I decided I wanted to do them weekly, and the opportunity at the Yoga Patch came up. I've been meditating since I was 8 years old, and I didn't know what it was at the time. I had no clue that there was a word for it, but it was just the space of taking time at the end of the day to reflect on everything that happened that day, what the gamut of my emotions that I'd gone through during the course of the day. Like, we have things happen to us. We have events, just shit we got to deal with, all day long, constantly. And if we don't take time to process those at the end of the day, what seems to happen is they well up. And have you ever noticed this? You'll be pissed off for like 3 days in a row, and suddenly it's like Friday, and you're like, why have I been pissed off for 4 days? And if you take time to think about it, it was like, oh, something happened on Monday, like I wanted a piece of chewing gum and I couldn't find one, and it pissed me off. And like all week long you're irritated and annoyed, and I mean, it's usually something, usually somebody did something to you, some perceived offense, and it just festers and it just wells up. And then you take that with you to the next experience in your day, and the next experience after that, and the next experience, it gets worse and worse and worse. So the act of meditation is at the end of every day, or the beginning of every day, whenever you have time, whenever you can make time. 5 minutes is enough. 10 minutes, a little better. We're going to meditate for 20 minutes tonight. But any time that you can do this in your day, take time out and ask yourself, what was the day like? What did I like about today? What did I really hate about today? And how can I make it better tomorrow? Because we go through the same circumstances. I mean, really, we kind of live in Groundhog Day. Most of us, we have a job that we go to, and it's pretty repetitive. We do the same thing every day, or at least a variation on the theme. And it is. It's like Groundhog Day. We wake up at 7:15. The alarm goes off every morning, and then we go and we get in our car and we go to work. And then we go sit in a cubicle and stare at a screen, and then we come back and we come home into another box, and it's just box, 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 and we're always in the box. So ask yourself, how can I make tomorrow better than today? And at its core, that's one very basic principle of meditation, taking time out and reflecting on what happened. When you get into more advanced techniques of meditation, then you get into some crazy woo-woo shit about how you can manifest your reality and all this stuff, and that's some cool stuff. That comes later. What I've found in meditation, let's say you're going to meditate for 20 minutes. The first 10 minutes is this process of replaying your day, of allowing all of these thoughts to surface and bubble to the surface, and paying attention to them and acknowledging them. And then after you've acknowledged them all, then you get into a place of peace and calm, where there's more of a thoughtless quality to what's going on in your mind. when you can actually find some measure of peace. But the measure of peace that we're looking for in meditation can only come after we've taken enough time in silent reflection to deal with, to acknowledge all of the thoughts that are in our minds constantly, all the time, that otherwise go unacknowledged. They're just starving for attention, for somebody, for you, the person having the thoughts, to acknowledge their existence. And then we have to realize too that I, that you, that any of us, I am not my thoughts. I am separate from my thoughts. My thoughts exist in my mind, but I am not my thoughts. My thoughts don't define me. If I believe a thought in my head, then I suddenly associate myself with that thought. And instead of realizing, here's the chain of events. Something happened in my day. This thing caused anger to arise. It made me angry, we say. And then in that space, we're identifying with the thought, and you become anger, and you start living your life from a place of anger or sadness or whatever it is. But if you can realize that your thoughts are separate from you, then something will happen in your life, some event, and it will cause anger or sadness to arise, and you can separate yourself from the experience of this emotion. The emotion still exists. You're still having an emotional response to whatever's going on, but it becomes separate from the person who you are at your core. You are the same person, regardless of the external circumstances that are happening to you that are making you feel one way or another. So if you keep that separation from what's happening to you, then you can find more of a sense of peace and not get overwhelmed and sucked into this vortex of becoming your thoughts. Does that make sense to everyone?